Welcome back. Today I thought I'd tell you a little bit about what we did with our free time and how our parents interpreted free time for us. Our parents were very strict about our free time. Actually, it was not free time at all. Mom believed in keeping us busy doing chores around the house. Every Saturday, we dusted the entire house with mom, which was fine. Other than that, vacations were spent helping mom make mango pickles or guarding the pickles from crows while they dehydrated on the building terrace. Now, while we were guarding the pickles, we did not just sit idle on the terrace. Mom had us doing embroidery for our wedding trousseau. We cross stitched complex designs on bedsheet sets, among other things. Reading was a luxury only allowed for some time after lunch. The magazine subscriptions included a monthly called Chanda Mama that was targeted at kids and another weekly magazine called the Illustrated Weekly. Dad also subscribed to the Dalal Street Journal, but that was like alien to me. For a time, mom also read a Hindi magazine called Manohar Kahaniyan. That was something again I never read or touched. The Chanda Mama subscription, though, was in Hindi, even though it was meant for kids, because mom was more comfortable reading Hindi than English. I mean, I think if there were Punjabi subscriptions available in Bombay, mom would have just taken Punjabi magazines or books or whatever. But those were not available around Bombay. In the entire Hindi Chanda Mama, one page was a comic strip in English. And this was the section I would read. One afternoon on a weekend, when the new Chanda Mama had just arrived, I wanted to read that comic strip. Mom said she wanted to read the Chanda Mama and I should wait till she was asleep in the afternoon. So basically, the magazine came and I waited all morning. Then I'm looking at mom. Mom would keep reading the magazine as she lay in bed for her afternoon nap until she fell asleep. So I sat in a corner of the bedroom waiting for my mom to fall asleep, just sitting there quietly waiting that mom will fall asleep and then I'll be able to read that one page of the comic strip. I waited for what seemed to be a really long time. Finally, mom fell asleep. I crept quietly so as not to wake her up and tried to take the magazine from her hand gently so I could read. Mom had a firm grip on the magazine even in her sleep and wouldn't let go. I tried to tug it out of her hand gently, but that woke her up and she scolded me for waking her up and started reading the magazine again. So I went back to the corner to wait for mom to fall asleep again. This happened multiple times that afternoon. I could not understand why she couldn't just let me read that one page and then take it from me. Why she couldn't read something else for some time. But that was the pecking order, since I was the runt of the litter, the stupidest and the weakest and tiniest child. My parents were so strict about only letting us read study material that they even objected to us reading library books that were issued by the school. So while we loved Enid Blyton and our Nancy Drews and Hardy Boys like all 80s and 90s kids, we had to sneak read them. If mom went out for any errands, she had a huge list of chores that I had to do while she was away. So I would hurry up with the chores and try to finish them before mom came back so that I could read a few pages of the famous five or the secret seven. I remember not removing a library book from my bag all week until Thursday because Friday was the day we were supposed to return the books. Even then, Dad objected. I begged him to let me read the book, saying that I would have to return it to the library the next day. He reluctantly agreed. Of course, I couldn't finish reading an entire book in a single evening. I was anyway slower than the average kid when it came to reading or anything actually. Another tactic that Dad had come up with to avoid buying new books for me would be to ask me if I had first finished reading the books that he had already bought me. At the time, I did not know that the two books that he had bought for me, the one titled Fish and another titled Fossils, were encyclopedia type reference books. So each time I asked him to buy me a book, he would just ask, "Have you read the fish book and the fossils book completely from end to end?" Crestfallen, I would answer no. They were difficult to read. I tried so many times. And that way, Dad didn't have to buy me any more books for like a really long time. One day, we got a refund of 12 rupees from school. I forget the reason. Walking back from school, I saw a book exhibition come sale. Excitedly, I went to look at some books. I bought a Disney puzzle book and storybook. It had crossword puzzles, join the dots, and other such exciting activities. I went home excitedly and showed the book to Mom. Of course, you can guess the reaction. Mom fretted the waste of money. Another way I found to read was to borrow from neighbors and friends. Ashwin Hande was a scholar type kid in my building whose parents had filled the entire bedroom with multiple rows of cupboards full of books for their kids. There were rows and rows of champaks and tinkles and Amar Chitra Kathas organized by month, organized by issue. Champak was a popular kids' monthly magazine at the time. So one day I borrowed a champak from Ashwin. It was the latest one for the current month. Now, mind you, this was summer vacation. So it's not like I was neglecting homework to read a magazine. Dad saw me reading the champak and got enraged. He grabbed the magazine out of my hand, tore it to shreds, and flung it out of the balcony. I was stunned. Later, when Dad realized he would have to replace the champak, he searched the markets and could not find a replacement to return it to Ashwin's dad because that was a subscription magazine. After this incident, I made sure to read in the friend's house if I borrowed a book from anyone. Bernadette was very generous in letting me read her Archie comic books. I would sit in her house for hours reading the Double Digest, struggling to finish it, and of course I couldn't finish it in one sitting. There was another magazine called the Illustrated Weekly that my parents subscribed to. This magazine too had a single page of comic strips. I remember one week when the magazine came in, I picked it up to read the comic strip. But this particular week, there was a series of full page nudes titled Bathing Beauties. I wanted to read the comic strip, but seeing those nudes made me nervous because I knew they would make Mom very angry, and I quickly closed the magazine and went away. Later, I asked Mom for the magazine so that I could read the comics section. Later, I asked Mom for the magazine so that I could read the comics section. She refused. I begged, saying, please, I'll only read the comic strip and give the magazine back to you. Mom reluctantly agreed, and I quickly read the comic section and returned the magazine to her. I did not even stop to wonder why there were pictures of nude women in the magazine. That is how much Mom had programmed my mind. I simply filtered that bit out. One summer, my parents let us borrow books from a roadside library. Yes, we had found a roadside library. When Mom and Dad went to Ghatkopar every week to buy vegetables and fruits, they came across a guy who had strewn books on the road alongside the vegetable vendors. He was operating on the same principles as a library. Borrow a book, pay him, return the book, and take another one. Something like that. We were so excited. That summer, we read a few books that we hadn't read before. I'll tell you more about this roadside library in the next episode. Till then, stay healthy, stay happy. Bye for now.